What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. We are back with another betting show today with top 5 bets for the weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. The biggest MMA of this upcoming weekend is in my backyard as Bellator returns to Ireland. They have a big fight in the main event and lots of Irish talent as well throughout the undercard and the main card. There's a UFC card this weekend, there's a KSW card this weekend, and I'm going to bring you 5 bets mostly from Bellator, and I've one thrown in there from the UFC as well, but we'll look at a couple of the KSW odds and beyond as well. Before we get into all of that though, what a week we had last week on the betting show. Our Flier hit and 3 of our 4 bets hit. What a week. Absolutely brilliant. So the one bet I didn't hit was the Knight Bracknell fight to go under 2.5 rounds. Now blame William Knight for that now. He's blaming himself. You can't blame me for that one. That was just an all-time bad fight. So that's one you know, I think the pick was good. Kind of, although like 2 minutes into the fight I was like, well, maybe it's not good. Even the way Bracknell fought, never mind the way Knight fought. So yeah, it was an all-time bad fight, so I'll take solace in that. But the rest of them, Bueno Silva at the submission. I said the third round submission and almost was. I think, was it only a minute left in the second round or something? But my bet was the submission plus 200. That was really good. Over a round and a half for Miller Hernandez. That hit at minus 135. OSP Lynn's fight doesn't go to the decision. They did it in like 49 seconds or something like that. Minus 115. That's a great price. And then Blanchfield to win inside the distance. Plus 350 on the Flier. Absolutely brilliant. What a week. If you bet on all of them, I think you probably made a bit of money. So we'll get into it now and we'll lose it this week on these bets. But we won't. What a week it's been. Or what a year it's been so far. Overall, 10 of 18, which is really good, over 50%. And then 3 of 6 overall on the Flyers, which is absolutely crazy. As I said, I think I only got maybe 2 or 3 all of last year, so it's absolutely brilliant. We've hit a plus 350, one that went to plus 470, and in a plus 700 as well. So on the first, it's 5 weeks because I gave an extra Flyer 1 week. In the first 5 weeks, to hit 3 bets like that, they hit 3 Flyers in 5 weeks. Is insane. Don't expect it to keep up. Do not expect it to keep up. But what a start. What a start to the year, and hope everyone is doing well with it as well. Also, thanks for the support. Let's hear your bets in the comment section below. Let me know your bet for the week. If you have a bet for the Dublin card, if you have a bet for the UFC card, KSW, whatever you want, let us know in the comment section down below, and I'll be in there and I'll be replying to you. I might be a bit busier this week because I'm going up to Dublin and I'm going to be covering the card and all that malarkey. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below, and I will hit you up there. I appreciate all of it. Appreciate all the love for the last week's show, for the interview with John Cavan and all of that. So shout out to everyone who is tuning in and supporting. If you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button. We're on iTunes as well if you just want the audio, if you don't want to look at my ugly mug and all of those places. So check it out there. If you look up Sherdog, you'll find them that way. Right, let's get into the bets for the week. So, and do you know what? I had them in order here, but I'm actually going to start out of order because I was just watching a fight before this, because I was like, do you know what? I haven't watched too much of that guy. I went looking for fights of his, I couldn't find one, and then I did find one. So it's the Adjoudj versus Liam McCracken fight I'm going for first, right? And the bet I'm going for is Adjoudj at minus 165. And now, to a lot of people, maybe this isn't the biggest fight of the weekend or anything like that. Go and watch, just do this. Go and watch one Adjoudj fight. Go and watch one Liam McCracken fight. And I think, or even minutes of them, and I think then you'll be excited about this. I've seen a lot of Asael. I've seen maybe half of his fights so far in his career. A very talented, a very good fighter. I interviewed Peter Queally here. I suppose it was a couple of months ago, maybe now at this stage. I think it was before the last fight, actually. And I asked him, like, if there is one guy in the gym that stands out who you think is going to be the next big up-and-comer, who do you think it's going to be? And the name he gave me was Adjoudj. And you can see why. You know, kickboxing for days, really, really good on the feet, but looking better all around all the time as well. And a very, very talented fighter. On the other side of it then, I picked Asael before I went and watched more of Liam McCracken, but this, like, I do think Asael will win. I think he's kickboxing a little bit better. I think he probably will be able to keep it off the ground. That's why I've gone for the pick. But I'm going for the pick most of all because I want to highlight what a great fight this actually is, and a great undercard fight. Because Liam McCracken, he's just your modern day MMA fighter. He kind of has that hunched forward stance, very crisp striking, lovely kicks, throws wheel kicks as well, kicks up through the middle, and then turns it into a grappling match in the middle of all of that. And he usually does that because he's dominating his opponents. Now, Asael will be a little bit different. And why I'm excited about this and why I think maybe Asael has the ability to win this is that he will need, I think, to strike more with McCracken than he normally does. And what I mean by that is, I think if you strike with McCracken for a certain amount of time or give him a certain amount of comfortability in there, he tries to lull you into that so he can go for his takedown and get his submissions and get his ground and pound. I think of his 3 fights so far, he's had 2 submission wins, 1 ground and pound. I watched the ground and pound win there 5 minutes ago, and it was mostly striking before that until he switched levels and went in and took the fight to the ground. So this is not a guy, you look at that and think, oh yeah, no, he's just a ground fighter. He's not. He can fight on the feet as well. And maybe there's a couple of his fights amateurs as well where he just looks like that. But if I hadn't found that extra bit of tape, I might have been saying that myself. And maybe even the preview show I recorded before this, I was saying that a little bit. But I don't know if that's necessarily true. So what I think will happen in this is Asael will be way more, maybe not attacking, but I think he will be throwing a lot more shots, maybe a little bit more varied, maybe allowing himself to let his shots go more than he normally would against a guy who maybe he can pick off, who's not as high a quality, so that McCracken can't set up his takedowns and try to get the fight to the ground the way he wants to by dominating on the feet first. And I think, A, that's a good tactic for Asael, but I think, B, it's a very, very good way to win the fight as well, because you don't want to be striking with Asael Adjoudj. You really, really don't. He is very, very, very good on the feet, and it's a very close fight in terms of the price, and that's why I've kind of gone for Asael in this. I'll be interested to see how the price changes maybe the more the week goes, but yeah, that's the first bet of the week anyway. I'm going for Asael Adjoudj minus 165 to win over Liam McCracken. The next bet I'm going to go for, I will go for the Bellator main event, and I watched back the first fight. I probably watched that first fight. At least I watched it live. I probably watched it back after that, and I watched it before the MVP Storley fight, and again now. So I watched it at least 4 times, and I can't help but look at that fight and look at the way Storley has fought since and think that he won't be like a damn sight better of a fighter coming into this. And that's not to say he was bad in the first fight or anything, or that, you know, that he, you know, it was an easy win for Amosov, or that, you know, or that even that his rising in level will be too much for Amosov or anything like that. It's not that at all. But when I look at Storley at plus 145 now, and that's the bet I'm giving for this, and you look at the last fight where he almost won late in the round, where he seemed to be keeping the better cardio, and with the improvements he's made since, I just think it's a very even fight. And look, it's an even enough price as well, but you're betting the price. I was listening to John Anik the other day talking about it, and I said the same with Volkanovski last week. You're not betting the fighter, you're betting the price here. And this is a fight, I think, that can go literally either way. It's a toss of a coin, a real toss of a coin here. And you give me one guy who's plus 145 in that, and I think that's the one you take. So that's the movement I'm going to be making on that. Now, the other reason I give for favouring Storley, okay, there's 2 parts to it. And I'll give you the Amosov part first, because, like, Amosov has been over in the Ukraine fighting the war. You know, he has been out there, and I know he's back and he has got into camp and he has been able to train and everything. But what about, I was listening to Bilal Maham talking the other day, and he was talking about Paddy Pimblett, and he was kind of saying, you know, it's those moments outside of camp when you have maybe 3 months between camps, let's say, and it's those improvements you're making to get to the next level, to bring them into the next camp, to use them in the sparring and all of that. Amosov have missed out on that now, and Storley hasn't. And Storley not only has had those, but he also has had fight camps. He has the ability to improve in the fights as well as improve the technique coming up to the fights. He's also had that first fight to see where he's like at that level. And it's hard to think that a guy, I believe he's fighting out of Killcliff, isn't he? With the likes of Usman and Ian Gary and all of those guys who are at the top and up and coming as well. And that, and I think I spoke the last time I spoke to Ian, he mentioned his name and he was kind of saying, look, he helps me out with the wrestling, I help him out with the striking kind of thing, and that's the kind of relationship you need, and maybe something that Storley unfortunately missed out on because he was fighting for his country, and that's obviously a very harsh thing to even think about, but like they're going to fight on Saturday night in Dublin, and that's going to be the reality of it. Now, the second part of that then as well, I think that Logan Storley striking, especially we saw in the Neiman Gracie fight, saw bits of it against MVP, not too much obviously. I think it has improved from that first fight, and the technical part of it rather than anything else. I think in that first fight, Amosov didn't show he was the best technical fighter in the world, but I think he showed he was a better technical fighter than Logan Storley. But Storley then clearly has very, very good power. And Amosov didn't seem to have massive power in his hands, although, I'm sure if he hit me or if he hit anyone full on, he has plenty of power. But in a fight like that, when it's in the heat of it, it didn't seem to hit as hard as Storley, but was more technical, was able to jab him up and stuff. I wonder, has that gap of technique been closed a bit? Like, I wonder, will he be able to jab him up like this here? That's, I would say, a bit, but not as much as the first fight. And I think that's a massive advantage to Storley. Now, you look at that first fight as well, and you see Storley was trying to wrestle all day, and he wasn't able. Amosov actually had the advantage in the wrestling at the start anyway. I think when the fight got to the ground, Storley was kind of, some of the scrambles, his jiu-jitsu I think is better than Amosov, but the wrestling, I think the advantage does go to Amosov, even though Storley was the one trying to wrestle throughout the whole fight. I wonder if the striking of Storley is better. Will the wrestling of Storley be more applicable in the fight, or more easily used, I suppose, in the fight? If that's true, then I don't think he'll have to expend half as much energy, and he had a cardio advantage in the first fight anyway. So if he can strike, get the takedowns, take the cardio out of Amosov and keep his own cardio, that's a massive advantage to him. Now, there's a lot preceding that for that to happen. Now, I'm not... Look, if Amosov beats him up on the feet, it won't happen. If he can't get the takedowns, even if he does do well on the feet, it won't happen either, and it'll be an even fight. I generally think this is going to be an even fight the whole way through. The tactical difference between the first fight and this fight to me is going to be very interesting, because like, is Storley going to go all out for the takedown early like he did in that first fight? I honestly don't think so. I think he's going to strike more with him, and I think that will be a good adjustment. Like, you look at the first fight and you think, who's been proved more since? I would say Storley, naturally. And who has more scope to adjust how they fought in the first fight to win this fight? I think it's probably Storley as well. Having said that, both guys can improve, can change in different ways coming out of that first fight. So we don't really know. It's very hard to know. But I just feel like the stars are aligning for Storley. And I'm talking up my bet here a little bit. I'm more on the preview show, obviously, more unbiased maybe. I do think Amosov is a great fighter. I do think he's a very good wrestler. If he out-wrestles Storley again, he'll have a great chance to win it. It's a 50-50 fight. But yeah, on that price, I'm going for Logan Storley plus 145. Right, next bet, I'm going for bet 3, is Pedro Carvalho. And amazingly, he's an underdog here at plus 100 over Jeremy Kennedy. The price of Jeremy Kennedy right now is minus 120. So very, very close here. Kennedy started, I'm just looking at the bets here, so it opened up from when I'm recording this only in the last 48 hours, so opened up at minus 205 into minus 120. So by the time this comes out, that will have changed. Plus 165 into plus 100. It's going to be around an even fight. It's going to be around an even fight. The way I'm looking at it right here, right now, it's plus 100 for Carvalho. But I'll take him at minus 120. I'll take him at minus 130. I'll take him up to minus 150, I think this is Carvalho's fight. I really, really do. I don't think people understand how good Carvalho is. Now, as I'll say it again, it's two good fighters, two top-ranked Bellator fighters fighting each other. There's no guarantee either guy will win, right? But I just think people don't understand the level of which Pedro Carvalho has been fighting at for the last few years. Like, his last 3 fights, he lost the middle one against Niedzielski in a fight he very much could have won, a close on the judges' cards. Couldn't find much tape of him beforehand. He was coming in his debut. He's a tough wrestler. It was not a great fight. But the 2 fights either side of that, he beat Daniel Weichel, and he beat Mads Burnell, who's one of the best featherweights in the world. He beat him, and who's also, like, we know what Mads Burnell is like. He's a very, very, very good grappler. And Carvalho was able to win that fight. So, people maybe think of Pedro Carvalho, and he goes in there and he fights Patricio, and he obviously gets knocked out early, and that's all we kind of think of him. I remember before that fight, right, he'd fought Sam Cecilia. He'd won 3 or 4 fights in a row, and thinking, is this one of the best guys fighting out of Ireland at the moment? And that was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, and Pedro is only 27 years of age. This is a young guy. He doesn't look it, he looks a little bit older, I suppose, but he's only 27 years of age, improving all the time. He's showing improvements inside the cage, and he comes in here against Jeremy Kennedy, a guy who he's a good fighter, has beaten the likes of Emmanuel Sanchez and others as well. Aaron Pico last time out, okay, it was a shoulder injury. We know all about that. He can wrestle, he can strike, he can do it all. But, like, if he can't wrestle here against Pedro Carvalho, if he can't take him down constantly over and over, something which Pedro has shown recently that he's well able to avoid. I think that Niedzielski fight as well has brought him on, and even in that fight, he was able to turn it around. He was able to, I think, get on top towards the end and stuff. He's good on the ground. He's like, Pedro Carvalho is no mug at all, and he's training with some very good jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu guys and wrestlers as well in in SPG. I'm just looking through the card here. The likes of, say, Dara Kelly wouldn't be too far away from his weight. Kieran Clark and others as well, who are, dominant and good wrestlers and be well able to wrestle with him. And the likes of Quealy and others as well are in there, and Scatese, and plenty in that gym to go up there and do the type of thing that Jeremy Kennedy will be trying to do to him. So, and look, Kennedy has the other side of it as well, absolutely. But when you give me Carvalho as the underdog in Ireland as well, with the highest spot of an Irish trained fighter on the card, that's a tough one to turn down. I would favour Pedro to win the fight, and I think as the underdog at plus 100, I'm taking that bet all day. Right, we will jump over to our UFC bet for the week, and this is a bet on the price again, and this is a bet on the person. It's Tatiana Suarez to win inside the distance at plus 185. Now, she's fighting Montana De La Rosa, and if you had told someone 3 years ago, or whenever it was, that they would get nearly 2-1 on Tatiana Suarez to finish Montana De La Rosa, they would have bit your hand off. Now, what has changed between then? She's been out injured for 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, it feels like. It's been so long since she's been out injured. But like the talk around the place, it seems like she's doing well in the gym. She's coming back. She's going to be absolutely at it. And if she's anywhere near where she used to be, that price of plus 185 is going to look... I'm going to look like a genius, like, afterwards. But it's also going to look like one of those prices where you think, how did I miss that? How is that a price that was available after this? Because, look, Montana De La Rosa is a very good fighter. She's good. She can box. She's good on the ground. She's very, very good jiu-jitsu. But Tatiana Suarez, at her best, is levels above. She's levels above almost everyone in 115, 125. She really is. That's the type of fighter she is. She's minus 800 to win this fight. So the bookies know. The bookies know that how good she is. And it seems like it is a bit off the fact it's plus 185 to win it. Like, I would have probably taken that up to minus 185 maybe. I really do think she's going to get the finish. I think she's going to take her down. And as well, it's going to be one of those fights, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong here now, but remember Dominic Cruz? Who did he fight? Was it Mizugaki when he came fighting? He took out 2 years of frustration on him. I feel like we could get a bit of that. Suarez gets a takedown, she gets into maybe half guard, or she gets the back, or she gets into the mount, and there's going to be years of frustration coming down on top of Montana De La Rosa. And I tell you, I wouldn't like to be in that position. I don't think many in that division would like to be in that position, and I see it. Look, question one, do you think she'll get a takedown? I think she will. Do you think she'll pass? I don't think it'll be easy necessarily, but I do think she will pass. And at that stage, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So, plus 185 inside the distance, Tatiana Suarez. Right, the flyer of the week. Now, the flyer of the week, I've kind of made up this price, I'll be honest. But you can, because I'm recording this obviously a little bit early, I'm going to wait to Dublin to cover the card and stuff. And this is one of those bets that isn't out until like the day before and stuff anyway. But I wanted to give it, right? So, the bet I'm going for Richie Smullen to win here against Niedzielski, who I mentioned a minute ago. And he's plus 240 just to win the fight straight up. Now, this is the flyer, keep in mind here. But I'm going for him to win. Do you know you get those double chance bets? So, submission/decision. Richie Smullen to win by submission/decision. And I'm going to estimate here, right, plus 500. I think it's going to be around that. If he's plus 240 just to win straight up, I think that'll be around plus 500. We'll check the comment section below. If you're listening to this on Friday or Saturday, I will 100% make sure to put the correct price in the comment section below. But I think around plus 500. So that's going to be the, hopefully it's a little bit higher. That's going to be the flyer for this week. The reason I'm going for that is twofold, really. And I've analysed this fight and watched a good bit of both of these lads coming into it. And I think it's going to be, it's a lot more, I'll tell you what, it's a lot more even of a fight than that. Let me just check again. Plus 240 going against, where is it now? Plus minus 300 for Niedzielski. It's a lot more even of a fight than that. I was going to give Smullen as one of my straight up bets at plus 240 based on the price alone. Like, if you're to ask me my pick is probably Niedzielski, right? My pick is probably Niedzielski. It's going to be a very, very, very close fight. I think Niedzielski's wrestling might take him through, right? But here's the reason I really like that bet. And the bet again to win by either decision or submission. Niedzielski is the type of guy who will take you down, right? But Richie Smullen is two things. Well, he's more than two things, but he's two things for this example. He's brilliant on the ground, very, very, very good jiu-jitsu, well able to just slide out of positions, get to a knee, get to an elbow, get to a hip, or land maybe on top of you or take your back and things like very, very good at doing things like that. So that kind of takes away strong positions of people like Niedzielski who wrestle like that, but also gives the opportunity to submit someone. So he's in that position, he's very good. And he also has like an insane cardio and work rate. Talking to some of the lads in his gym, like, if anyone here is talking to anyone from SBG, ask them about Richie Smullen's work rate, and they'll tell you this guy is one of the hardest workers in the gym. An absolute monster. And he can keep going all day long. So Niedzielski takes him down, he takes him down. Smullen's going to still be there. Like a lot of guys, let's say Amosov and Storley, even though they're both good wrestlers, you saw the first fight, there was a lot of grappling, and by the end of it, oh my God, Amosov's tired. Richie Smullen ain't going to get tired in a 3-round fight. He really, really isn't. And this is the sort of fight, he could be 2 rounds down and win it in the last minute of the 3rd round. He really could. Or else he'll just outwork Niedzielski. Maybe lose the 1st round. Niedzielski take him down the 2nd round, think he's going to go away now, and he just never goes away. And then there's a turning point in the middle of that, and he ends up maybe getting the delayed finish, the submission, maybe wins the 2nd round, wins the 3rd round, and goes into it like that. That's the reason I'm going for it. He's just such a good fighter on the ground, but also a guy who never gives in, never gives up, and has the physical ability to keep going. Like, if you're to look at two of them physically, like Niedzielski is, more muscular and a more, if you were to ask which one would you like to fight, you'd say Richie Smullen over Niedzielski, 10 times out of 10, to be honest. But there's a lot of a difference when you actually go into fight. Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz, look at them lads. Like, they don't look like, their body types and all that don't look like they'd be as good a fighter as someone else, William Knight, let's say. But then you put them in there and they've cardio for days and they've iron chins and they never give up. And that's what Richie Smullen is to me. So the flyer by decision or submission around plus 500. As I said, check out the comment section below. We will update that as it goes. Right, so those are the 5 bets for the week, and I'll run through some of the other bets from it. Look, this UFC card again, it's pretty horrid. Like, it's terrible. There's nothing on it. Sakai and Mays, minus 125 for Sakai. He's the favourite. Around even money for Mays. Look, you've a big heavyweight fight there. You're looking at the unders, maybe under 2.5 rounds. Minus 135 would probably be the bet I go for there, but nothing really stands out. Krylov and Spann then in the main event. I like Spann here, and he is the underdog at plus 145. Krylov always has an issue when the fight goes to the ground. I was looking up Spann's record, and I was kind of oddly surprised to see how many submissions and stuff he has. So maybe to get the submission or to win Spann inside the distance, plus 177. I think the submission bet isn't up here yet, but I think he'll be a submission. I don't know. What, plus 200, something like that? I would maybe a little more, maybe plus 250 for Spann to get the submission. That's the one I'd be going for. Muniz and Brendan Allen. This is an interesting fight. Do you know what I fancy in this one? I fancy this one to go to a decision, plus 170. I like this one. Muniz didn't impress as much in his last fight. Brendan Allen, a tough guy. Just turn off my radiator here, lads. I'm absolutely roasted. Tough guy. And that's the bet I like in that one. We talked about Montella de la Rosa, Tatiana Suarez, Malat Lenice. That's an interesting fight. I like the opposite of this. Doesn't go to decision. Minus 175. Not a great price, so maybe avoid it. Lenice to win inside the distance, plus 360. He's probably due one, to be honest. But Malat's the big favourite coming into that fight. So interesting. I think I like Lenice. Like I like him as a fighter. I think he... Yeah, limited, but if he can put a few things together, I think he's such a physical beast. Hits so hard. Like I like him even in the first round. Let's see what that is. The betting isn't up for that yet, but yeah, maybe him in the first round, and maybe then Malat by decision or something like that. That could be the way to go. Selecki's a big favourite over Carl Denton at minus 520. Jordan Everett is back. He's fighting Piotr Martinez. That's a pick'em fight there as well. I go for 11 in that one. Jasmine Jazdavicius is back against Gabriela Fernandez. Another pick'em fight. Charles Johnson or the Osborne is kind of that as well. Just about Charles Johnson is the favourite there. And then there's some other stuff as well. Yeah, so very good. KSW, the big fight there is Phil DeFries for the heavyweight title against Todd Duffee. Interesting. Hopefully, come on, touch wood. Todd Duffee makes the fight. He actually fights. Plus 350 for Todd Duffee. You know, they fought before and Todd Duffee won. So if you like that, Phil DeFries is a very different fighter, a much improved fighter since then. I'd probably back DeFries, but minus 550, not a great price. Brian High minus 200. In his fight, Andreas Gustafsson, a good up-and-comer, he's minus 150 against David Hoysek. And there's some other fights there as well. Daniel Milanchuk is minus 150 over Michael Keita at plus 115. He's coming in a short notice, but I do think that'll be a good fight. Two good up-and-comers as well. Maria Delfino against Ramzan Jimbiev. Ramzan is minus 300, and I think that's just about right as well, having watched a bit of him. So yeah, Dominic Hamburger as well against Nemanja Nikolic. Minus 250 plus 180. I'd probably go for the Hamburger in that one. I don't think that will shock many people. Bellator then. We've gone through a lot of these obviously, but the prices, as I mentioned, Storley plus 145, Amosov the favourite minus 170. Bit surprised it's that much of a gap, to be honest. I'm a bit surprised. Jeremy Kennedy minus 120 plus 100 for Carvalho. Then we have some of the big Irish prices. Minus 900 for Dara Kelly against Darvell Jordan. That's just about right. I think Dara Kelly didn't perform great in his last one, but I loved his attitude afterwards. He came out and he said it. Janae Harding, Sinead Kavanagh, very interesting fight. They fought before. Janae Harding won via cut. Now, we can all talk about how that went, but she's plus 205 here. Sinead Kavanagh minus 265. Now, I think Sinead Kavanagh will win this fight. I think she was winning the first fight. I think the fight should have gone on. But Sinead has been out for the last year with an ACL. And that price seems a bit wide to me. I do think Sinead should be favoured. I thought this would be closer maybe to 165. Minus 165 for Sinead, but she's minus 265 plus 205. You know, I do think Sinead will win. Don't get me wrong. Sinead's definitely my pick, but that price is too wide for me. It really is. Magomed Sharapov, massive price in, almost minus 1,000. Kieran Clark minus 350 against Leonardo Sinis, coming in a short notice, plus 275. I like that price on Clark. McIntosh Makahana minus 900 as well, so no one's going to be betting on that. Brian Moore, Luca Oveen, again minus 600 here for Brian Moore. I think that's a bit steep. Luca can fight. I do think Brian Moore will box him up, and I think he will win the fight handily enough. But for a guy who hits as hard as Luca Oveen, and a guy who has his wrestling as good as him, similar enough record to Brian Moore as well. I do think Brian is a far superior fighter, but that's price is a bit wide. Definitely is a bit wide. This is an interesting one. Bryce Logan and Peter Queally. I'm honestly not sure about this one. Queally minus 180, plus 155 for Logan. On the prices, I bet Logan, because I think this is another pick'em fight, and this is a real pick'em fight. Like two guys who are pretty similar, well-built, athletic guys who like a bit of striking, like a bit of wrestling. Look, the hometown factor for Queally, as he said himself in the past, that's worked for him and worked against him. It's hard to know how it'll work this time. I'd probably go for Logan, not to go against my hometown guy or anything, but yeah, that price, I don't know about that. And I'd say the opposite in for Richie Smullen. The price is too big. We talked about that. Norbert Navini minus 350. I'll tell you what, you won't get Norbert Navini at minus 350 against a guy like Andy Manzolo ever again. So if you want to throw that in, an ACCA or whatever, absolutely do that. I say that because he's another guy coming off of an ACL, but if he's at his best, he will destroy Andy Manzolo. So there you go. Another fight I absolutely love, Karl Moore, Rosansky. Rosansky is the underdog, plus 125, minus 145 for Karl Moore. This again is a pick'em fight. As pick'em fights as you'll get a pick'em fight. I do just about favour Karl Moore, so I don't think I'll go for Rosansky in that one, because the price is close enough. But that's a fight that, if you like two big muscular men going at each other, that sounded wrong, you will like that. You will like that fight. Charlie Ward, Mike Shipman. Another close fight. I said in the preview, so give me who was ever the underdog, and I'll take them. Charlie's the underdog, so I'll take Charlie in that one, plus 139, minus 169 for Shipman. Skatizi is the favourite. Sakaram is the underdog against Popov. Interesting. And Kalanadu then is the 195 to minus 245 underdog against Jenna Bishop. So there you go, everyone. That is a preview for the weekend in the books for the bets. Top 5 bets for this weekend are Adjoudj minus 165, Logan Storley in the main event in Dublin, plus 145, Pedro Carvalho at plus 100, Tatiana Suarez inside the distance, plus 185, and then Richie Smullen to win by either submission or decision, approximately plus 500. That's Shawnee Sheehan odds there, so we'll see how that works out. If you're at the event, you see me, say hello. We won't have a drink at the event. We'll have a drink after the event or the day before, or whenever. If you're around, let me know and we'll have an old chat. And I hope everyone enjoys the fights this weekend. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.